Okay, I thought I'd start a series of videos called Roadmap. This kind of something that I wish was around when I was thinking about getting my EliteDesk, and it will go into things such as, well, how do I even pick to begin with? What type of PC should I be getting? And then such things as how should I buy it? Where should I buy it from? How do I initially get it set up? When it comes in the mail, UPS, FedEx, etc. What do I do with it? And then once I got it set up, what can I do with it? So in these series of videos, we'll kind of go over that. The first one, I just wanted to kind of talk about just sort of trying to decide what do I want? Why do I want it? That sort of thing, and talk about some of the stuff that even myself and what I went through trying to decide what path to go down. And so, thought the easiest might be to just do some analysis in terms of rating. Just coming down to the fact that maybe first looking at the kinds of sort of PCs out there. You've got your desktop, your laptop, and then your mini PC. And for me, when I was thinking about them, I was seeing these mini PCs, wondering what they're all about. I was obviously familiar with desktops and laptops, and started looking on Amazon, saw all these different brands, saw all these different things out there. Just had no idea what I wanted to do with it. I knew that I was interested maybe in virtual machines. That was something that sort of interested me, to be able to just play with different Linux distros, have different versions of Windows, have a platform that would be sort of safe, so that if I installed stuff I didn't like it, I could just roll back. Didn't have to worry about viruses and all that kind of stuff, so that I'd have something. So I think the first thing we'd have to kind of decide is what kind of computer. Now, obviously, if you're watching this and on this channel, we know that we're sort of focused on the HP EliteDesk mini PCs, but maybe you're thinking of your next one. Maybe you're just getting into the market. So what I thought I'd do is kind of go over some of what I saw as maybe criteria that you could use. I went down, I gave in each criteria a scale of 1 to 3, 3 being the best, because I think it's easier to add stuff up to have a higher number, as opposed to, let's say, golf, where you're going for a lower number. So we'll go with like normal sort of sports type stuff, where the higher the number, the better. So in looking at desktops, laptops, and mini PCs, just right out the bat, went with computing power. This can be very a little controversial. It just kind of depends on what you mean by power and what you mean by especially these days, the lines are so blurred, and people are going to say, well, I've got this laptop that does this. So, but in general, I put desktops at the top, followed by mini PCs, and then laptops as far as the ranking there. Expandability, that's a big one. A lot of people maybe aren't so wild about the mini PCs because it's harder to do stuff with them and add stuff. So obviously desktop, you can add new cards, you can do a whole litany of stuff. Maybe it's got 12 drive bays. I mean, who knows? So it definitely gets the top on the scale for expandability. Laptops, really hard to do stuff with them. There's pretty much a closed system. You're looking if you can even open them up to expand the memory. I've had ones where you'd have to tear the whole thing apart just to add more RAM to it. So a lot of times you just got to get whatever you get, you get. And then I put the mini in the middle there, all in one. Well, obviously laptop's going to win because it's got the keyboard, it's got the even a trackpad, it's got the monitor, it's all in one. So it wins there. I know desktop and mini, it's kind of a trade-off there. The only reason I gave desktop maybe a little more is that the power supply is built in versus the minis. It's usually an external connector. So kind of went there. Portability, obviously desktop is not really made for moving around. Yeah, you could probably lug it if it's smaller, got a handle. Laptop again wins there. Mini, it's tiny. You still though have to plug it in, where the laptops, you've got your battery. Power efficiency, gave that to the mini. I mean, some of these get, pretty low on their draw. And then I went with laptop after, and then desktop. I couldn't think of a good term for small footprint because I wanted to make sure, because if I just said footprint, well, I don't know if you're looking for lots of footprint or less. So I said, okay, small footprint. So obviously the mini is mini. That's why you're getting it. So it wins there. Laptops, you can have some pretty small laptops. They tend to be there. And then finally your desktop. And again, I know that there are different sizes of towers and desktops and so forth. You can go there. Affordability, this is a tough one because, I mean, you're talking about what's brand new on Amazon, what's brand new on HP, what's brand new on, wherever it might be, what's used on Amazon, excuse me, well, used on Amazon and on eBay. I said, just kind of in general, desktops probably are a little more affordable. Laptops do tend to be more expensive, but then again, you're also getting the all-in-one. I don't have to buy a monitor. I don't have to buy a keyboard and mouse and so forth. So it's all set to go. So yeah, you most likely have to pay more for it. And then mini kind of goes in the middle there because you still need the all the connectors like you would for a desktop. You may be paying more just because the minis are a little more maybe specialized market. Okay, then I added them up, and not surprising for our forum here is that the mini did beat out the other two just ever so slightly. You can use this and to however you want to use it. Generally, when you're doing those kinds of things, you then maybe go, well, what's really important to me? And maybe that one you're going to put some sort of weight category on it. Like, let's say power efficiency. That's really important to you. Well, you may put a 2 times on it or 3 times on it for your weighting. So, of course, then the mini's going to win out quite a bit. You might say, I really need something that I can add a lot of stuff to, a lot of connectivity, do stuff. That's going to give me a weight of 2. Well, of course, then the desktop's going to easily win out because you can do more with it there. Your mini PC, of course, you can open up the cover and you can add a lot of stuff and so forth to it. But a lot of that is, it's a little more, I would call sort of aftermarket-y type of stuff. Where the desktop is kind of ready to go as far as expandability. So again, you can make your choice. For me, I don't think it was, I knew I was interested in the mini PC, so it was sort of the steps after that I needed to know what I wanted to go down in terms of, brands and new, used, etc. So let's look at the next one. So here we have, I've just listed some brands, 3 of the very common mini PC brands in terms of what's sort of more current, like the B-Link, Geekom, sorry if I'm messing up the names, Minisforum. I guess you kind of say it quickly. And then 3 of the more old school type brands that you might see some of the older units like the ones that we use, the Dell, HP, Lenovo. Now this to me, my ratings here are very, very arbitrary. I came up with something called familiarity, eBay listings, and support. So familiarity purely comes down to me. So if I'm going to go down the route of, purchasing something, I like to go with something that I've heard of, I've maybe used, similar to people I know have used. So I gave, again, the rating of 3 for most familiar, 1 for least. And so you'll see there where the Dell and the HPs, I've used them for years, so I gave them familiarity of 3, where the others gave a 1. Because I just don't, I mean, I know I see the videos and everything out there, but me personally, I'm not very familiar with it, so I gave those a 1. eBay listings could be important if you're thinking of going down the route of the used market. Your more newer brands, you're not going to find as many listings just because people aren't giving those guys up yet. Maybe you'll find a few here and there, but in comparison to the older ones like the Dell, HP, and Lenovo, there's a vast difference. And I don't know with Lenovo, I gave it a 3. I don't know. People can respond in the comments. I don't know if that's closer to a 2, but I figured if channels like Serve the Home, those were their 3 sort of ones they went with, and they were pulling from various places, and other channels were also looking at Lenovo. We'll just stick with 3 there. Now, support. So support, I would put in the category of, hey, can I still get the drivers for these older units? Do they have the hardware and service manuals available? And for me, that's a big thing. And I'd almost have given HP a little higher, but I know that Dell does have that out there. But I know HP, it's rare that I can't find some sort of old school service manual for one of their units. And to me, that's an important thing, because I like to know, especially before I'm going to buy something, how complicated it's going to be to add memory to it. I mean, it's one thing if I go on to a website that says, oh yeah, you can add memory to the XYZ thing. I want to know how hard it is, how many videos are out there that people have done on the thing. So again, those are kind of the same. I probably would have given HP a little higher, but I kind of stuck with the 1 through 3. If we look at our totals, you'll see Dell and HP, at the top. For me, when I was looking, for a long time, I was a Dell person, and then started doing more HP. And over the X number of years, I'm pretty much straight out HP. I've had some duds, yes, along the way, some real bad ones, but I've had others. I've got an HP desktop that we've been using for 15 years now, I think. It just keeps going and going. I mean, it's definitely slow, but it's believe it's considered a business class machine. It just keeps going and going. So that's So for me, I liked it. So I said, okay, I'm going to go HP. So then the question after that is, okay, what model of, and I'm kind of jumping because I know that there's the question of, well, do I go with the, Pro Desk versus EliteDesk, all those kinds of things, but we'll just go with the assumption that we're talking EliteDesk. So the next one will be, okay, what model of EliteDesk might I want to go with? Okay, so I've got other videos on the channel and it's part of our Generations film series, whatever you want to call it, where I compare like the G1 to the G2, G2 to G3, etc. And I make some recommendations there, and you'll get to see what the hardware looks like. And again, this is all judging for yourself. A lot of these numbers, again, are just my experience. I have all 5 models. I've got multiples of some of them. I've got 2 G4s and a 35 and a 65 watt G2. This is being recorded on a 65 watt. So they all have their place. They all have their charm, if you want to use a term. So you really can't go wrong. But I just wanted to kind of point out, especially if you're someone who is brand new and just says, hey, I'd like to know which one maybe I should start out with. Or, hey, I've got one of these. What do you think might be a good one to go to the next one? So we'll kind of go with that. Again, you could add your own categories, your own weighting, etc., to figure out, what if you're into these sort of tallies. I sometimes do it. I'm more of probably a pro-con because it's hard for me to make a choice amongst a lot of things. So I usually come down to two things. But I wanted to kind of put it out there so that you could see. Okay, so we've got NVMe support, okay? And the G1 probably should almost have a 1 just because of the fact that in order to boot from an NVMe drive, you've got to watch, again, one of my other videos that you do have to mod the BIOS in order to do it. It's not a huge deal, but it's something that you got to do. Plus, you got to take the whole fan and heatsink assembly in order to get to it. That probably goes more under accessibility and workability, but we'll give it, because of the fact that it does have one technically NVMe slot, we'll give it a 2. Same as the G2 and G3 both have 1. And I'm just counting pure NVMe as opposed to the Wi-Fi. Now, granted, you can use, again, one of my videos showing how you can do the whole Wi-Fi hard disk. But if you're talking straight, right out of the box, NVMe support, the first 3 just have 1 NVMe slot. The G4 and G5 both have 2, so we'll give those a 3. Memory expansion, G1 max you can do is 16. The G2 and G3, it's 32. G4, G5, I believe, are 64. I'm doubting myself now. It may be the fact that the G5 is the only 64 gig one. I'll put it in the little comments here if it changes. I have heard, of course, a lot of people putting 64 gig even in some of the older ones, and it worked. But we'll go with that. Accessibility, okay? That term can be used a lot of different ways. I was trying to find the best word that meant easy to work on. So, okay, accessibility. G1, not the easiest, especially like I mentioned before, trying to get to that NVMe slot. Boy, if that can be tough. I'll come back to the G2. G3, I'm not real wild about the slider on the back. I really want the thumb screw. But it kind of looks the same as the 4 and 5 in terms of the amount of screws you got to take out and getting to it. G2 I really like. One commenter had really sung the praises of it, and I was thinking, is that true? And then when I went back to do more stuff, yeah, it just feels easier and faster to be able to get to the stuff you need to. So that's that's kind of nice. G3, I will give it one prop in that if you want to add a 2230 to a unit, G3 is really the best because it's already got a nice slot there with the place to put a screw, and it uses a normal screw. Where the 4 and 5, you got to go rummaging through quite a bit of stuff to find any of the weird ones that will fit. So, thumbs up to the G3, and maybe it might get a 2.5 on there. Computing power, kind of based this on the generation of processor. G1's using a much older one, so it gets a 1. G2 and G3 get a 2. G3, I guess you could maybe give it a 2.5 because you can put a 7th gen in there. G4 and G5, you start getting into 8th and 9th generation. I guess you could technically G5 might get a 3.5 because it's got the most, juice there. Affordability, obviously the older the unit, conceivably that's going to be the more affordable, the cheaper to get. As far as the CPUs that you have to order, the memory. Gosh, the G1 is still using the DDR3, which you can really get for steel. Older processors, so definitely more affordable there. G2, the processors are G3. You start getting into the especially if you want to go 7th gen. G4. Yeah, it's a little more affordable just if you're getting a full unit, but it's still in the probably the 120, 130 range if you want, out the door working. G5 is really mine. I was surprised how much I ended up having to pay. It's still cheaper, obviously, than G6, which gets way up there. And then, don't even talk about the ones after that. So we'll give the G4, a 2. The G3, again, you could do a 2.5 if you wanted. It's kind of in there. So now if we look at the totals, kind of see that the G4 is sort of wins out. If my math was correct. Yes, okay. I was about to doubt it. But it's pretty neck and neck. The G2, G4, G5. Again, you'd probably want to weight these. For someone starting out brand new, and you want to maybe keep price down, I would go G2. That's easy enough. That's you're not going to go wrong with that. You got 4-core. You can put 32 gig on that if you want. It's nice. The G4. You've got a little more juice if you want 6-core, and but you are going to pay. So be thinking that you could easily pay $50, $60 more for the G4 versus the G2. So you could almost, depending on configuration, almost get 2 G2s for the price of one G4. So kind of goes with what you're going for. So that, based on what you're looking here, you can, it will kind of give you an idea of, what route you want to go down. Maybe if you really like the Dells, you might want to do the same sort of chart and look at some of the ones out there and see from sort of the older ones to the newer ones. There's a lot of good places out there to see comparisons. Serve the Home, like I said, their tiny mini micro series explores all three: the Lenovo, the HP, and the Dell. And so you can kind of see. I've looked at the Dells, and it's a little hard for me to wrap my brain about on the progression. Maybe I like the HPs because it's very simplistic. 1 comes before 2, comes before 3. Now, granted, of course, you would still need to know perhaps the difference between the Pro Desk versus the EliteDesk. Both of them are great units. I've seen both. I just happen to go down the EliteDesk route, and price-wise between the two, there's not a huge differential. So that's why, again, I just happen to once you get kind of going one area and you feel familiar with it, you kind of continue. Let me know on the Lenovo's. Again, the modeling numbers on those and the sort of generations and how those might work out. So the next set of videos we'll talk about, how am I going to buy this thing? Where should I go to get it? So that will be in our next video.